Hey guys, welcome to day 5 of your poetry unit. The past couple of classes we've been talking about the different elements that set a poem apart from other types of writing. We're going to move on from that now and really start thinking about more in-depth topics of poetry and how poems or poets really can create special meaning through that craft of poetry. So another thing that sets poetry apart is that instead of calling the narrator a narrator, we call that person a speaker. One thing that's really important to remember is that the speaker is not necessarily the poet. In fact, you can get very creative with how you show perspective by having the speaker be something or someone very different from the poem, or from the poet, rather. But understanding who the speaker is going to help you to really understand the message of the poem itself. So what we're going to be doing today, instead of reading a poem to you, I have a song that I want you to listen to. The song is called The Lighthouse's Tale, and it's by a band called Nickel Creek. They're a bluegrass band. But the poem is really interesting in that it's told from the perspective of the lighthouse. The lighthouse is the speaker of the poem. And I know it is a song, but again, we talked about it last class. Songs can often be considered poetry because of the way that the lyrics are put together. And so I would definitely consider this song to be poetry. So as you're listening to the song, and the words are in your poetry packet on day 5, to really think about how the story would be a different story if it were told from the perspective of one of the characters in the story other than the lighthouse. So here is The Lighthouse's Tale by Nickel Creek.
I'm a lighthouse, worn by the weather and the waves. I keep my lamp lit to warn the sailors on their way. I'll tell a story, paint you a picture from my past. I was so happy, but joy in this life seldom lasts. I had a keeper, he helped me warn the ships at sea. We had grown closer, till his joy meant everything to me. And he was to marry a girl who shone with beauty and light. And they loved each other, and with me watched the sunsets into nights. And the winds crashing around me, the sun slips out to sea, and the winds that blow remind me of what has been and what can never be. She'd had to leave us, the keeper he prayed for a safe return. But when the night came, the weather to a raging storm had turned. He watched our ship fight, but in vain against the wild and terrible wind. In me so helpless, as dashed against the rock she met her end. And the winds crashing around me, the sail slips out to sea, and the winds that blow remind me of what has been and what can never be. on the next day, my keeper found her washed up on the shore. He kissed her cold face, that they'd be together soon, he swore. I saw him crying, watched as he buried her in the sand. And then he climbed my tower, and up the edge of me he ran. And the waves crashing around me, and the sand slips out to sea, and the winds that blow remind me of what has been and what can never be. I am a lighthouse, worn by the weather and the waves. And though I'm empty, I still warn the sailors on their way.
It's a great song, right? It's a little bit haunting, a little bit chilling, and yes, it's definitely sad. But when you really think about it, that story, as told from the perspective of the lighthouse, sets that tale apart. It would be totally different if it were told from the perspective of the lighthouse keeper or from his love. So why would the poet choose to tell it from that perspective? Why would the speaker matter so much? So as you're reading through your poems today, what you're going to be thinking about, and these poems are pretty interesting, they're very creative, but you really have to think about who the speaker is and what does that tell you about the message of the poem, because it changes because of who the speaker himself actually is, and it's definitely not the poet in these examples. So think about speaker and why that's really a necessary element of poetry to think about, that it doesn't necessarily have to be someone. It's not going to be a man just because the poet is a man. So this will be an interesting lesson. I hope you enjoy the poems today because they're very different, but they're also very entertaining. All right, y'all have a great class, and I will see you next time.